All right, we're going to go ahead and continue with our media availability this morning here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And we've now been joined by Matt Kenseth, driver of the number $20 General Toyota. And Matt, welcome to Bristol. Talk a little bit about just coming to Bristol. We had Martinsville a few weeks ago, second short track of the season. Talk a little bit about just the characteristics of this track.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot over the years. It should be a little bit different with the spring race being later, although the forecast on Sunday might change that a little bit. But typically here the spring race is a lot different than the fall race. The groove ends up being a little bit lower. The track doesn't take as much rubber, all those things. But with this temperature, I think it's going to be more similar to the fall race. So it's you got to be able to handle really good on the top and decent in the middle to be able to try to make some passes. So the groove usually gets stuck right up on the top. It's really, really fast. There's always a lot going on here, so it's a fun track.
We'll go ahead and take questions for Matt. If you have one, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation. Okay, we'll start in the back and then move up front to Bob.
Sorry, Bob, you're a little late. A little late on the draw there, bud.
It's not often you can beat Bob Hockers. Jay Pennell with Fox Sports. Both Denny and even Kyle, when he met with the media this week, mentioned that you guys are a little bit behind. Where do you feel like your organization is behind compared to Hendrick, Penske, and SHR? And what are you guys doing to kind of make up that ground?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of a moving target. It's funny how that changes, week to week. At Fontana, Denny ran really, really well. I thought if we went to got that caution with 15 to go or whatever, I felt like we were in a great situation to win. We were leading and had enough gas and could hold off the 4 and the 41. And then we went to Martinsville, and all our cars would have been in the top 5 if Carl went to had a couple flat tires and some bad luck. So I felt like things were getting better there. Our qualifying at the mile and a half's been really good before last weekend, but then we go to Texas, none of us qualify well, and really none of us race very well. So I felt like we were gaining on it. Last week felt like a step back, and I really honestly today can't tell you why. I really don't know why. But I felt like we were gaining on a little bit. Certainly Bristol is very unique. So I'm hoping we can all go here and run decent. The last couple of years it's been a pretty decent track for us overall.
All right, Bob, go ahead.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Carl won this race a year ago, and you talk about being a unique track. Is there anything that he can bring as far as just knowledge, as far as setups go for here to help you guys?
Well, I don't know about necessarily, setups and that type of thing. Carl runs really well everywhere he goes. This is a good track for him. Last spring we were leading the race, had a really good shot to win too, I think, and got ran over by that slower car when the caution came out. So, I mean, I felt like we had a good run too. In the fall we ran pretty good. So I feel like it's a good track for us. Like I said, I think Carl's a guy who can win anywhere, but certainly here last year they had quick cars in the spring. I think Ricky had a good finish as well. So every week you try to learn what you can from your teammates, and when you got teammates that can win, it really helps make everybody better.
All right, we'll continue with questions for Matt with Nate up front, please.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Matt, the news about Ross Kenseth driving your car number, your sponsor at the Xfinity race in Chicago, making his debut. How much influence did you have in making that happen? And maybe you could just talk about Ross's career. I know he kind of ran ARCA and stuff last year. Now he's coming back to the Xfinity Series. Yeah,
I mean, Ross has been working really hard, to try to get a good opportunity. Certainly I don't think the opportunity can be any better than this. It's I feel like the 20 is one of the best nationwide cars out there this year with wheels, running that thing. So it'll be a great shot for him. Really appreciative of Joe and everybody at JGR giving him that chance, and Rick and Todd and everybody at Dollar General, to jump on there and sponsor his first ever NASCAR start. So that's exciting for me. It's an off weekend, so I'll be able to be there and be part of that. So looking forward to, seeing how he does. Like I said, it's a great shot. He's worked really hard with it for it. He's won a lot of big short track races, and he's never going to be more ready, for the opportunity than he is now.
Did your involvement in making it happen? Did you go to Dollar General or the team?
A little bit of everything. I mean, it's something that I guess we've talked about a lot. Even really in the past. And I think with some nationwide races opening up or Xfinity races opening up earlier this season with Bubba leaving and some other things happening, kind of set up at least a chance to try to get some stuff together to make it happen.
All right. Continue with questions for Matt. Okay, we'll come to Pat, please.
Pat DeCole, NASCAR.com. Matt, I'm over here.
Over here, I don't know what that means.
To your left.
Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't help. Over here,
Yeah,
over loudspeaker doesn't help.
Sorry, with Richmond on the schedule next week and that sort of being where all the friction with Brad Keselowski seemed to start, I'm just wondering what the current state of that relationship is, if there is one.
I don't think it's any different than it's really ever been. I mean, I can't hardly remember last week, much less last year. So, I don't foresee that as being an issue. Like I said, I don't think it's really any different. We haven't had any really problems racing each other here since Charlotte last year, I guess. So, you always hope that continues.
All right, we'll go back to Bob, please.
At Kentucky, I think you were talking about there have been times after Cup practice, especially with Denny running more Xfinity races, where it's you and David and Carl in the debrief, and you're the only one who was there last year. How much does that? I mean, does it make a big difference? I mean, does it take more than 6-7 weeks for drivers to kind of get up to speed with everything that's going on in the cars?
Well, I don't know about that. I just by the end of last year, especially, I felt like Denny and Kyle and I have a really good working relationship, as well as relationship off the racetrack. But I feel like we're each very unique and bring different perspectives. So without either one of them there, it's just different. Denny is, he's kind of underrated, and a lot of things about him I didn't realize until I got over to JGR. But he has a great feel. He has really, really great feedback. Really good way of explaining things. So when he's not at a meeting, I feel like we miss a lot. And Kyle as well. He has a unique perspective, but he's always he's really a car guy. He knows everything that's going on with his car, everything they change, what that change felt like. So there's a lot there that I would learn. So it just changed a little bit because I haven't worked with Carl for a while or David for a while, and it just made it different. It's better, I think, when everybody's around, obviously.
All right, we'll go to Kenny, please.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. Matt, Bristol's one of those tracks that's not in the chase. When you go to a track like that, is it any less important there because that's not a chase race, or not when you're going to be coming back?
No, I mean, I've said this before, but they're all big races, and honestly, it's been so long since we've won a race. They're all huge races for us. They're all really, really important. I feel like we obviously need to get a win. Win basically qualifies you for the chase. Pretty much for sure. So that makes it really, really important at each and every racetrack. And I also believe in momentum. And they're all big races, and you want to put your best foot forward. You want to perform the best you can each and every week, and you want to win every week. So to me, I don't really feel like one is that much more important than the next.
All right. Additional questions for Matt? Okay, we'll go to Nate, Jim, and then to Stan. Go ahead, Nate.
Kind of continuing along those same lines. I know you guys want to win every week, but this place, like Martinsville, seems like the driver can maybe make up a little bit more of a difference, can carry the car a little bit more, kind of the way Denny did at Martinsville. Do you look at this maybe as more of an opportunity, knowing that you guys might not quite have the speed at the 1.5 miles, and that makes up so much of the schedule, that when you come to a short track, this might be a place where if you're close, you can make the difference and maybe get that win that you might not be able to get at the 1.5 mile track right now?
Well, whenever you run really good, you want to feel like the driver made a huge difference, right? So, I don't know. I don't know that the driver makes any more or less of a difference here than a lot of other tracks. Certainly there's some tracks, Daytona, Talladega, places like that going fast doesn't have a lot to do with necessarily talent. But I think every track is very unique, and but no matter how good you think you are at a certain track, if your car doesn't do what you need it to do, you're not gonna run up front. It's just too competitive. So, every week we all work as hard as we can to try to make the cars as fast as we can, try to make them drive as good as we can. I mean, certainly when you get to the short tracks, they're less dependent on, aerodynamics and, even engine to a certain extent. So if you feel like you have a deficit in those areas, it doesn't make as big a difference at a short track. But I'm not so sure we have a deficit in those areas. So I think, each track's important, and you try to make as much difference as you can everywhere.
All right, Jim, go ahead.
Jim Utter, sort of along those lines,
Okay.
the you hear people say all the time that the difference between the people who are currently very good and the people who are not very good is very small.
Which category do you got me in today? Because it's been a while. This was one race. Just wondering, just before I answer this.
Is because the difference
Not
is so
answering
small
that,
is what makes it so much difficult to try to find the missing ingredient that teams like JGR are trying to get?
Well, in all seriousness, I mean, it's certainly a lot different than it was even 10 years ago. You know, I mean, everything is just so much more consolidated. You know, there's so few chassis builders, there's so few engine builders, there's so many common templates, you know, where it's hard to get a huge advantage or disadvantage on aero. You know, everything is just so tight together. I feel like all the drivers have gotten a lot smarter. There's so much more information available to all of us, you know, ECU data and film, just all kinds of different things that we didn't have back then, where you can study what other drivers are doing there, beating you, at least if they're in the same stable. You know, so there's just so many tools to get everybody so much closer together. So you get off by just a little bit, and you know, it's tough to beat those guys. You know, and sometimes it's hard to figure out why you're off by that little bit. You know, you just got to keep working at it.
All right, Stan, go ahead.
Stan Creekmore with RPM tonight, Matt. So when you walk out of this door after this interview, how intense do you become? Because today is an extremely important day for a short track, for Bristol Motor Speedway. You've got to be, you know, as fast as you possibly can be. So how intense do you become when you walk out the door?
I'm pretty much, I feel like I'm pretty much the same all the time. I mean, I've been, you know, looking over stuff, thinking about coming here and trying to get qualified. I mean, I don't really, you know, walk out of the door and necessarily put a different face on. I mean, we've known this has been coming all week, so once you get through all your Texas stuff on, I get through most of it on Sunday, but then when I get through the rest of the meetings on Tuesday, you're pretty much on to the next track. And it doesn't really change. You go out and do the best you can every week. You hope that's a good effort. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But you go out and do the best you can every week. You'll qualify the best you can today, because qualifying and pit selection is really important here. And then you move on to tomorrow, try to get ready for the race. And when you're done with that, you try to get ready for Sunday, go through your meetings, all your stuff, and you know, hope you have the right setup and strategy and so on for Sunday.
All right, any final questions for Matt? Okay, we will end with Kenny Bruce. Go ahead.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Matt, I can't remember if we've asked you this year or not, but
Yeah, you did.
we did. Okay, well, appreciate it. Thanks.
Just look up the archives. See you later.
With Jeff Gordon announcing his retirement after this year, you and he, I think, are both about the same age. Have you?
You have to go there, Kenny.
Yeah. Have you thought about how much longer you want to do this, and do you have an idea?
Not really. I mean, he has a lot more miles on him than I do, for instance. So we're not really comparing mileage or starts or wins or championships. So no, I haven't really put any thought into it yet, or very little thought into it, to be honest with you. I feel as good as I did 10 years ago. I'd like to say that I feel like I do as good or better job behind the wheel than I did then, although some of you might argue, because we are in somewhat of a dry spell. So you know, I don't know. I think you know, I think you probably will know. Thankfully, I don't know yet. I think Jeff got to a point where he knew that you know, it was time to go do something else, and he doesn't seem like he has any doubts about that. So I'm sure the fortunate few that can keep jobs and keep running and don't just kind of fade out because they can't get a competitive job anymore, you know, can decide when that happens. So I hope I'm fortunate enough to be one of those guys.
All right, Matt, we appreciate your time today, and we wish you best of luck this weekend.